Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can probably hear, the weather isn't so great outside and therefore you might not be able to hear me. But as you would have seen on the previous video, I removed all the Vanos solenoids on the BMW E60 M5. Well, I've managed to actually source 4 brand new ones, would you believe it, direct from BMW. Now, they didn't actually come in expensive at all. They actually come in at $450 on my trade account for all 4, which is very, very cheap. And this is why I advise anyone, if you have proof of your qualifications, if you have proof of experience working in the garage, you get yourself a trade account, because a trade account is a much, much needed account, especially when you need parts that you can't get anywhere else. And that is how I managed to source them, directly delivered to me from BMW dealer down the road from me. They also sent me a load of other goodies that I was needing free without even charging me, because obviously they know me there, which I'll be going over in another video because I'm going to be replacing a lot of other things on this car. But today we are going to be replacing the solenoids, and if many of you guys don't know, these parts have been superseded 3 times in their life, and a lot of you probably ain't even aware of that, and you're probably running on the old ones. Therefore, I do advise you, if you are on the old Vanos solenoids, make sure you actually change them to the newer version, because otherwise you'll end up with the issue I've had on this one, which I'll show you in a second.
Goddamn, get it done, will ya? Woo. When the blow up now, everybody's so unusual with it. Shit. But said times in his rhymes, cause his memories. We running through New York, so you know.
So if you'll see here, this is the old version we actually removed. Now, what I actually found out from one of my good friends who actually still works at BMW today was this was the main cause for a lot of the BMWs having the known Vanos rattle. A lot of people ain't aware of this, and BMW didn't tell anybody regarding this. Now, if you see here, you can see that is rattling really, really badly, and that should not be doing that. Now, when you start up the car, these start pulsating to bring oil to obviously the Vanos system itself and obviously all the camshafts. Now, if this is rattling like this from cold until oil's circulating around the engine, this is what's going to be making your rattling sound, known as Vanos rattle on the S85. Now, trust me, this shouldn't be doing this, and I'm going to show you the newer ones I've actually bought, which this is completely bad. And if you have got that, I would strongly recommend to take them out and check them to make sure you don't have this inside your engine, because if that falls off, that can be deadly. And this is a lot of the cause of the problem why these engines end up going out as well, because this ends up falling off into the Vanos system itself, destroying the actual engine. Now, if you see here, these are the BMW part numbers that you'll see on the top there, and this is the original BMW ones. Now, I was quite lucky to actually get these, bearing in mind these were the last lot in the country, and BMW don't really make these anymore. But if you could see here, these are the new ones. And you'll see here, these have all the seals on them and everything ready, and you'll see there is no play whatsoever. That's how they should be, solid. You can see right there is no movement in that shaft whatsoever for that solenoid. Now, these do come with the new O-rings also, so you won't have to buy a new kit. They also got all the O-rings around the solenoid itself. Just be sure to make sure you actually upgrade these, because these have been revised 3 times and superseded 3 times also. The part number is printed on them, and you should be able to find them depending on where you are. I would just ring up all the dealers and try and see who can source them. I got very lucky, bearing in mind they actually had 4 in the country, and I got lucky and they actually got them in for me the next day and was delivered to me the same day, which I'm really, really grateful for. Cost of $450 on my trade account was absolutely brilliant. Most people wouldn't pay that, obviously. If you're not in a trade, you are going to expect to pay more. There's no point in commenting and asking me how you get a trade account. If you're not qualified, you don't have proof of working in the trade, or you don't have any qualifications, BMW is simply not going to give you a trade account. But if you could see, there is no play, and that is how they should be. BMW have revised these, and these shouldn't give any issues later on in life. However, if you do have the black one, make sure to actually take these out, because you'll see there, like I showed you, that has got major play. It's wobbling really bad, and this right here is the actual cause of your Vanos rattle. So you'll see right there, I have actually fitted the 2 new solenoids already on the left side. The reason I've done this purely off the video is you guys wouldn't have seen, because the way I've had to actually get to them is not easy whatsoever. You would have been seeing me jump around under here, my head would have been in the way and you wouldn't have seen. There is a bolt that goes up the back here, which would have been impossible to show you or show you how to install. It took me ringing 3 different people that do this job on a regular basis that I know who work for BMW to find out what to use and what tool to use. And I will strongly say to you right now, if you are not mechanically minded, if you don't know how to use your head to work around things, and if you've never really worked on cars with hard to reach bolts, do not do this job. It's simply not for you. I know a lot of you are gonna probably hate me for not showing you how to remove them, but it was physically impossible. It took me a long time to get them back in, but I've done it because it's a job I needed to do. And I'm very, very glad I've done it, because you'll see by the state of the solenoids. I've got all the bolts back in. If you remember, when I took them out, someone had already been in there and took 2 of the bolts, and there was only 1 bolt holding each one on. I've got all 4 bolts back in there, holding all the solenoids back on properly. So they are screwed back up. You will not be able to use your normal Torx 20 Allen key to get in there. You will not be able to use a long piece Torx 20 bit to get in there either. It took me a long, long time to figure out what tool to actually use, but I figured it out, and I managed to screw them all up here, and there's another one at the top here, which you'll get to easy. This one you'll get to easy, but there's another one over the back on this solenoid right here, which you'll probably struggle to get into as well. Again, you can't use Allen keys to tighten them up, so just bear that in mind, because they're not, they end up touching the AC compressor down here. Like I said, if you're not mechanically inclined, you don't know what you're doing, or you're still watching people do things before you do it, do not do this job. It's not a job for you. Do not start something and then you'll end up not knowing how to put the bolts back, because putting the bolts back in their position without dropping them, because you've got to remember you're going upwards, is not as easy as it seems. So you will not get them back in, and you end up dropping them in the engine bay, probably losing them. It is not an easy job, and it is not for the faint-hearted whatsoever. It did take me a long time, but the other 2 on this side right here we're going to be doing is actually much, much easier, and I am going to film replacing these with the newer ones that I've actually got. Then the last 2 we have to install, and I'll show you what plug goes where and how to tell the difference between each plug. So we'll go ahead and install these 2 new Vanos solenoids. And like I say, once this car's back started, that should really, really improve the drive of this car, and obviously stop the Vanos rattle that was actually happening. Just remember, once we've installed the Vanos solenoids, when we finally start the car back up, we are going to have to bleed the whole Vanos system with ISTA to actually make these solenoids actually seal into the Vanos units, because obviously they're pressurized, and obviously the new ones are going to have no pressure, no oil flow. Therefore, once we start the car, I am going to have to bleed the whole system. That can take 10 minutes, but that'll be on another video once we get this car back together. Okay guys, so you'll see right here, this is the O-ring, and these go up here on like a little hole that holds it in place to actually seal the O-ring housing on the Vanos system itself. What I'm going to do right here is I'm going to lube this up just with a bit of this silicone, which is like a water-based silicone. Right here, you'll see it's water-based. So what I'm going to do is just put this on the O-ring, just a bit of it, just to seal it so it holds in place, because I don't want it dropping off. Now you are going to have to be very careful here as well, because like I said, it can be a bit fiddly to actually do and get it to hold in place, and also to position it into position up there as well. Right, so what we're going to do now is put the other O-ring in the other one. You see I've got another new Vanos solenoid direct from BMW. We'll just stick that one in its place, because the first one we're going to do is the back one, and that's purely because that we can get to the front one more easier once we've done that. So we'll just stick this O-ring into place as well. Which is right there. If you're doing this job, you'll know where to stick them. It's quite easy and self-explanatory, but obviously it's not easy to show you on the video. Then you're just going to want to get your solenoid, press it in here, and you're going to want to make sure that holds while you get your screws. Now I did buy actually new screws for this, as you'll see right here. They're new shiny ones, because I didn't want to reuse the old ones, because I wasn't too sure how it actually played out before. But when you do this, you are going to want to be very, very careful to just do it. And like I said, with this side you can use a Torx 20 Allen key, it's not an issue, but the other side you won't be able to. And if you can see there, once you've got them both in position, then you can just start tightening them up. And that's that one in. Now we're going to do the next one. So again, you just want to align it with the holes, which are right here. and you just want to push it in, just like that, and leave it like that until you get your screws in position. Now you can see though how fiddly these are to actually get back in. You've really got to have a steady hand to be able to get them back in. If you don't have a steady hand, don't even attempt to try this, because you end up getting them out, not being able to put them back in, and then that will end up in disaster because your car won't start. And that's the solenoids back in place. Okay, so as you'll see right here, we've got two plugs. Now if you look on them, we've got a label on one of them, which you'll see right up here. This marks inlet. So inlet will always be the left side, exhaust side will always be the right side, because that's where the cats and exhaust go. So to plug them back on, it's very, very straightforward. You just go there, inlet, and then you've got your exhaust, which is right here. And you'll see right there, just slot straight back on. Just remember to check them. You can't get them mixed up if you know what you're doing, but some people will go ahead and remove them, then won't remember, or the flags won't be there to alert you to which side is what. Or you might not have ISTA, and if you don't have ISTA, you shouldn't be doing this job, full stop. If you've got ISTA, go ahead and do this job. And also if you've got ISTA, you'll be able to see which wiring plug goes where, because it tells you on ISTA, if you do get mixed up, what one goes where. Therefore you can relate to that and you'll be able to do your solenoids perfectly. But if you can see here guys, we now got all 4 new solenoids direct from BMW in the car, and I'm looking forward to actually starting this car up, but we've got a long way to go yet before I actually do that. But they're at least done, so I don't no longer have to worry about them, and hopefully that's going to make the car run a lot better than what it actually was, because I've replaced nearly everything on this car. I'm very, very happy with it. I've overhauled nearly everything, and there's a lot more to come. This will probably be one of the most cleanest and most overhauled M5s anywhere in the world right now, because I'm overhauling every single thing to make this engine run problematic and perfectly come the summertime. So there you go guys, that's the Vanos solenoid installation. So there you go guys, I've now replaced all the Vanos solenoids on my BMW S85, the BMW E60 M5. Like I said, it is a very, very fiddly job, and if you're not mechanically minded, and what I mean by not mechanically minded, if you're used to changing your belts, your valve cover, taking your manifold off, that is all easy. But if you are not used to working in hard to reach places, trust me, and if you've never worked in a garage where you've had to use your mind to come up with different tools or come up with different ways to get to certain things, do not think of doing this job. You will start a job, and yes, you may probably get the screw out, but I can assure you right now, you will struggle getting the screws back in. That is not easy. Like I said, it takes a long time. You've got to have very steady hands to balance them screws to get them back in the exact hole, and you have to tighten them properly. Otherwise, you can end up cross-threading the actual holes on the actual Vanos unit itself. Therefore, you've got to balance them all out before tightening them, and it's really, really not easy. So do think before you do this. This is why nobody's actually done a video on the S85 solenoids on YouTube, purely because it is not a simple job. If it was simple, many, many people would do it like this. A lot of people will take off the whole Vanos unit, which means lifting up the valve cover, having to redo the whole timing just to remove the solenoids. And even a lot of garages will do the same thing. Getting to the solenoids like this is very, very difficult. And even a lot of garages ain't experienced to get to it like this, because you need to either have fabricated tools, or you need to know someone that knows how to do this and tell you what tools to use. And luckily I did have that. And like I said, I managed to get them out and change them all. To be honest with you, the left side was actually harder to get out than it was to actually put in. Actually put the left side in much, much quicker than I actually did the right side. And you wouldn't believe that, considering that was the hardest side to actually get to all the bolts. So thank you very much for watching guys, and I hope this video is actually going to help a lot of you with your E60 M5. You've now seen it is possible without having to redo all the timing and change the Vanos solenoids easily. And this will be the first video on YouTube that you will see. And you're probably going to see a load of other people coming along trying to replicate or redo this video, but unfortunately they won't be able to, as I haven't said what tool I've used to actually get to the solenoids. And I know 100% there is nothing out there online for that to tell anyone how to get to them solenoids either. So thank you very much for watching guys. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.